All right, so we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from where it starts to get wide. So the Gemara says, there was a person that went down to daven for the Amud before Rab Chanina, and again they went down because it says in the right that they would go down when they would daven. That's the way that the Aguda of Parkites has it set up, that if you daven there, you actually take steps down to go down for the Amud. I think it's the only place I've seen that has it like that. But anyway, so he went down to daven before Rab Chanina. He was davening for the Amud. Amar, and he said, Hakel, Hagadal, Hagibar, Vanora, Va'adir, Va'azuz, Va'roi, Hachazak, Va'amitz, Va'vaday, Va'nechbad. He said, Hakel, Hagadal, Hagibar, which is what we do in Shemona Esrei every day. And then he added all these other adjectives that we are about 7 lines down from where it starts to get wide on Lama Gimel Mabeis. And then after he said the 3 of Hakel, Hagadal, Hagibar, he added all these other adjectives in as well to when he was davening for the Amud to describe Hashem. Because remember, in those days, they did not have the Sidurim that we have printed now. They just had the tefillas that they would say. They tried to remember them by heart, and he was sitting here and he was going on about the Rebbeinu Shalom. He was giving all these praises. So Hentin lo ad desayim. So Reb Chanina waited until this person finished davening for the Amud, and then when he finished, Kisayim Amarle. When he finished, he said to him, "Samtinhu lekula shvach demara." Did you, by adding all of these adding everything in that you just did you finish giving all of the praise that's possible to give for the Rebbeinu Shalom? Lama likuli hai. Why do you have the need for all these adjectives? So first of all, just an incredible lesson I think you learn here is that clearly Reb Chanina did not agree with because we're going to show that he's saying that he was wrong for doing it. Reb Chanina did not agree with what he was doing, but he didn't jump in and stop him right away to embarrass him. He waited until he finished davening. When he was finished, he went over to him and he asked him that. So he said, "What's the whole reason? Why do you have all these praises?" Anan hani tzalasa damrin, and the 3 that we say of Hakela Gadal Hagibar, which we say in the beginning of Shemona Esrei, Ilav damrin hu Moshe Rabbeinu Boraisa. If we wouldn't have that Moshe Rabbeinu said it in the Torah, va'asu anshei knesses hagdola v'tiknihu v'tfila, and then the anshei knesses hagdola came along and they were misakein to put it together in Shemona Esrei. Lo avini nechol meimalahu. We wouldn't be able to say even Hakela Gadal Hagibar. And you're going to give all these additional praises, and you think that you're doing the right thing. What's it compared to? It's comparable to a king who had thousands of gold coins, and what happens? And then the people come and they would talk about the silver dollars that he had. That's an embarrassment to him that he did it that way, because you should be talking about the greatness that he had, the gold coins, and you're talking about the silver coins. The same thing, we can only say Hakel, Hagadal, Hagibar. Anything else that we're giving, you're not going to be able to ever come close to saying what to the praises of what Hashem is all about. So therefore, he said we could just say what it was that Moshe had decreed, and Moshe said in the pasuk what the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah did. We are not supposed to be adding in our own praises when we're describing Hashem. Next Gemara. This is a famous Gemara that we've had in a number of places, that everything is from Hashem. Everything is, a person has the ability from Hashem, except for Yiras Hashem, except for the fear of Hashem. That what does Hashem, your God, ask for you? But to fear Him. So meaning Hashem has everything else, and it's just Yiras Hashem, that's the only thing that Hashem asks from you, because that's what, quote unquote, what Hashem doesn't have. So the Gemara asks, to Yiras Shemayim Milsa Zutrasahi, is Yiras Shemayim, is it something that is very small, that it's a very minor, because it says Ki'im, the only thing he asks for is this thing over here, which makes it sound like it's not a big deal to be able to do it. The only thing that Hashem has in His warehouse is Yiras Shemayim. And what do you keep in your storage house? You keep the things that you don't normally have easily available. So Hashem keeps Yiras Shemayim in quote unquote, Hashem keeps Yiras Shemayim in His warehouse. But you see that it's a big deal that He has it. Shneimar Yiras Hashem Hiyotra, that the Yiras Hashem, that's what He keeps in His warehouse. So why do we say, why does the pasuk say that what does Hashem ask from you except to fear Him? So when it says, in the Gabi Moshe Milsa Zutrasahi, that by Moshe Rabbeinu it was a relatively small thing. If a person comes, you come to your neighbor and you ask him, you want to borrow a very large dish from him, and he has it. It's like it's not a big deal that he's giving it to you. But but if let's say you came over to borrow something, a small vessel for him, or you came over to borrow something small for him, Dama love kikli gadol, then it's like it's a very big deal. And again, to equate it differently, if you go over to someone and who's very wealthy and you ask him to borrow $100, so for him to give you $100, it's not a big deal. But if you go over to someone who's struggling to make ends meet and you say that you want to borrow $10 from him, and for him it's a big deal to even give you $10 because he doesn't have it readily available. Okay. We are 4 lines from the bottom of Lama Gimel and Beis. So the next part of the Mishnah said, Modim Mishakin, so that if someone says Modim twice, we silence him, we take him down from being the Baal Tefillah. We take him down from the Amud. Amr Rab Zera, Kala Amr Shma Shma, Ka Amr Modim Dami. Whoever says Shma Shma, if he repeats Shma twice, that's also like he's saying Modim, and we silence him, we take him down from being the Baal Tefillah. So Gemara asks, Meisvei, Hakari Shema v'kofla, someone is saying Shema and he repeats it, Harizem Meguna, that is something that's not appropriate to do. So the Gemara says, Megunahu dekashtuki, Megunahu, it's only inappropriate to do. It's not the right thing that you're supposed to be doing. But shtuki lo mishtakin le, but we don't silence him. So that contradicts what we said in the Mishnah. We said that we silence him. And here we're just saying that if someone does it, it's not the appropriate thing to do. But it doesn't sound like we take him down from being the chazan, from taking him down from the Amud. Gemara says, Lo kasha, hadamar milsa v'tani la. One is talking about where he says each word of Shema, and then he repeats it again, going on to the next word. And the other one's talking about where he says entire pasuk, and then he says it over again. So if he's saying, and there's actually a machlokus which way this is, but I think, according to one shot, it means that the first case which says that he says, if you're saying each word twice, you're saying Shema, Shema, Yisrael, Yisrael, Hashem, Hashem, if you say that, that doesn't make it sound like you're showing that there's 2 gods. You're just repeating the tefillah, you're repeating every word twice. So it's not an appropriate thing to do, but it doesn't mean that it's not like you are davening to do to 2 different gods. But if someone says the whole pasuk once, and then he says the whole pasuk again, then it's as if he's saying the Shema to one God, and he's saying Shema to another God, and that's completely inappropriate, and we take him down from the Amud. Why do you say that the reason why he's not supposed to say it twice is because he's davening to 2 gods? Maybe the reason why he's saying it twice is because the first time that he said the pasuk, he didn't have the proper kavanah, and the second time that he did it, he had the proper kavanah. So that's why he's repeating himself twice. So it says, so Abai answered him no, and turning to Lamed Dalet and Aleph, that's even worse. There's such a thing as that you act just like a buddy to Hashem. If you're not having the proper kavanah when you're davening to start with, then we hit a guy with a hammer until he has a proper kavanah. So meaning that if a person's not having the proper kavanah when he's davening to Hashem, that is completely inappropriate. Now, I don't know what that says about us nowadays, where we get up and we then, we start davening, we go on autopilot, and then we finish davening, we say, oh, davening's over. So again, that's I will leave for Rabbi Silber to comment upon when he's teaching the Gemara. But the Gemara is saying that if someone is not having any kavanah at all, and that's why he's repeating it, then that's just as bad as what we were saying before. It's as if you're davening to 2 gods, and that we would actually hit, like we'd be hitting the guy to make him realize that he's standing in front of their Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay, the next Mishnah. Someone goes before the Amud. If someone goes for the Aron Kodesh, meaning to daven for the Amud, and he makes a mistake, you're supposed to send someone else up there for him. And again, this is talking about where in those days they did not have Sidurim. So the way that they knew Tefillah was they memorized it by heart. So if someone got up there and for whatever reason he just wasn't able to remember the order of what the davening was, so then we sent someone else up in his place to daven. And the replacement person, the relief pitcher that's coming in to daven for the Amud, at that time he shouldn't be someone who's hesitating that he should refuse to take the Amud. Right away he should go up to take the Amud in that situation. And where does the second person who's coming in to daven, where does he start davening from? The Mishnah says, and the Gemara is going to talk about this, but right now the simple understanding is that if, let's say, the person was in the middle of Slach Lanu and he got all discombobulated and he wasn't able to remember what the words were, so simply put, it means that the second person who's coming in should come in and he should start the bracha from Slach Lanu. The Mishnah continues. However, if someone was davening for the Yamud, lo yana amen achar kohanim, he should not answer amen when the kohanim go up to duchen. Because we're afraid that he's gonna get confused, and again he doesn't have a sitter in front of him, so he's going to lose his place of what he's doing to give the for when the kohanim are duchening. And if he's if the shliach tzibor is the only kohen that's there, and it's time for him to duchen, so the Gemara says lo yisakapov, he should not duchen. because again, we're afraid that he's not going to be able to continue saying Shemona Esrei afterwards because he's going to get confused from having starting to duchen, and then he's not going to be able to go back into Chazar Sashatz. But if he's confident that he's able to duchen and then go back into Chazar Sashatz, then he's able to do it. And the Mefarshim say that nowadays, Sidurim is the equivalent of someone being confident that he could go back and finish duchening and then go back to being the Shliach Tzibor. So,
right? I'm pretty sure, like, if you have a coin as a Shliach Tzibor, he doesn't duchen, right?
he does.
He does?
Yeah. And Shomrei, when Nasi Gross would daven for the young, he's a Kohen, and when he would daven, sometimes he davens Musaf, and Dave Finkelstein would get up to lead the call, to call on him, and Nasi would turn around to duchen. What?
He turns around.
I didn't watch how he was doing it, but they do it. I like either he jumps and keeps his feet. I don't know what he does, but again, that's what I know that we do that the Kohen if the Kohen is a Shliach Tzibor, then he does. I did ask last night for people to ask questions so that I could drink, but there's no soda here, so yeah. Okay, so the Gemara said. So the Gemara says now, Tan Rabbanan. If someone is going to become the Baal Tefillah, so the first time that you're asked is we're not talking about where someone made a mistake. This is just talking about in general. The Gabbai comes over to you and he says, I want you to daven for the Amud. Tzarech l'sarev, you should refuse at first, to make it that you're really not worthy to be the Shliach Tzibor. And if you don't refuse initially, you're like a dish that doesn't have any salt in it, meaning that there's really no time, there's no taste to your davening because it seems like you're eager to run up there and grab the Amud. If let's say a person refuses too much when the Gabbai asks him, then it seems like you're over, like you have too much salt that was put into your dish. So again, there's a fine line that you're supposed to do. Kate said also what are you supposed to do? The first time someone asks you to daven, you should refuse. Shniya mehavhev, then he should like you're showing reluctance that you want to do it, and shlish is poshet es ragel of yard. And the third time you actually get up and it's like when you go out to eat and someone says, "Oh, let me get the check," and you have the appropriate way. That's the equivalent. You have to figure out how to make it seem like you want to pay the check, but you really don't want to pay the check. So that's what I think that's what the equivalent of. Tan Rabbanan, Shlosha Ruben Kasha Miyut and Yafa. There's three things that if you do too much of it, then it's bad. But it's good if you do it in moderation. Ve'elu hein sa'ar, if you have yeast, umelach and salt, v'sarvanis and refusal. So again, the same thing. Just like you shouldn't oversalt a dish because it's going to be too much. Just like you're not supposed to refuse. And we just said you're not supposed to refuse too much. And too much yeast in cooking and baking. If any women are listening to this, I don't know how that works, but you're not supposed to have too much yeast in when you're cooking and when you're baking. Rav Huna, the Gemara says next. If a person made a mistake in the first three brachos, so Shemona Esrei is divided up into three sections. There's Shvach. The first three brachos are Shvach, where we praise Hashem. The next section is where we make our requests of Hashem, and the last three brachos are where we thank Hashem for everything that He's done. So, if a person made a mistake in the first three brachos, you go back to the beginning of Shemona Esrei, because that's the first unit of brachos, the first set of brachos that we have. If a person makes a mistake in the middle section, and you go back to Atachonin, which is the first bracha in the second unit. Ba'achronos, and if a person makes a mistake in the last section, he goes back to Ritzei, because that's the first bracha in the third unit. Ravasi Amar, Mtzios, Ein Lehem Seder, the middle brachos have no Seder, so really you can go back just to the beginning. You go back to the beginning of the bracha, wherever a person made a mistake. Again, if let's say it's right smack in the middle of Shemona Esrei, you go back just to that bracha. You wouldn't have to go back to Atachonin. So Gemara asks, where's the person supposed to go? The Mishnah said, when a person makes a mistake when he's davening and he gets confused and he has to be replaced. So the Mishnah said, where does the replacement Baal Tefillah, where does he start from? From the beginning we made the bracha. Rav Huna, because Rav Huna said that if you made a mistake in the first three, you go back to the beginning of Shemona Esrei. If you made a mistake in the last three, you go back to Ritzei. And if you made a mistake in the middle, you go to Atachonin. And the Mishnah said that you just go back to whichever bracha it was that the first Baal Tefillah had made a mistake. So Gemara says, no, the middle brachos are all considered as one bracha, so therefore when it says that he goes from the beginning of the bracha, it means that he's really going to the beginning of that section. It doesn't mean that he goes back to, for example, to Hashiva Shovteinu. It means that he will go back to Atachonim because that is considered to be one bracha. So really, it's not a question on what I had said before. Amar Rav Yehuda, L'olam al yishal adam tzrachav lo b'shalosh rishonos, v'lo b'shalosh achronos, el b'mtzios. A person shouldn't make his bakashos that he has from Hashem when he's davening Shemona Esrei. He shouldn't do it when he's doing the first three brachos or the last three brachos, only in the middle. Dam Rav Chanina, rishonos, domel, le'evet, shemesader, shavach, lefnei rabo. The first three brachos are like a servant that's coming before his master and he starts to give him praises before he's going to ask what his requests are. And Amtzios Dom La'evetz Mevakesh Pras Marabo. The middle brachos are like a servant who's making request to get something from his master. And Achronos Dom La'evetz Shekibel Pras Marabo V'nifter V'holiklo. And the last three brachos are compared to a servant who made request from his master and he got it, and now he's thanking him and he's leaving. So therefore, when a person has requests from Hashem, he shouldn't do it in the beginning of Shemona Esrei, he shouldn't do it in the end. He should be doing it from the middle. There was a story with one student, he was going before, he was davening before Rebbe Eliezer, he was davening a very long Shemona Esrei. We've all been there when that happens. So his Talmidim said to him, Rabbeinu Kama Arkon Huzeh, this person is very, he's prolonging the Shemona Esrei much longer than necessary. So he said to them, Klum Arch Yosef and Moshe Rabbeinu, is he davening any longer than Moshe Rabbeinu did? The that it says by Moshe, as Arbaim Ayom, as Arbaim Alayla, that Moshe Rabbeinu was davening for 40 days and 40 nights by Hashem. So whoever this person is, if he's taking, instead of doing a 4.5 minute Shemona Esrei, he's doing a 5 minute Shemona Esrei, that's not 40 days and 40 nights, so that's not a problem. There was another student that was davening before Rebbe Eliezer, and he was davening, he davened very quickly. So Talmidim said to him, Kamakatron who said, this person is davening very quickly. What's up with him? So Rebbe Eliezer said to the students, is he davening any shorter than Moshe Rabbeinu did? It says by Moshe Rabbeinu, Kel Narafan Allah, that when Miriam got sick, Moshe Rabbeinu davened for his sister, and he said 5 words, asking Hashem to heal her. So that was a very short tefillah that he did. It was very quick. So he says, again, it's not a problem that he was davening too quickly. Rav Yaakov, Rav Chizda, Kalmavakesh Rachamim, Chavero, Ein Tzarach La'ask Shmo. Whoever, if someone is davening for his friend, then you don't need to mention that friend by name when you're asking for Hashem to help them out. Why? Shenemar Kelna Rafan Allah, because Moshe, when he was davening for Miriam, he just said, Hashem, please heal her. But he never said Miriam's name. So you see that you don't need to have you don't have to mention again, Hashem knows everything, so you don't have to say the person's name when you're davening to Hashem. It's enough just to say the tefillah that you want to say. Tan Rabbanan, Elu Berachos she'adam shocha behem. These are the actually, you know what? We'll stop over here and we will continue. Next week we'll be back on with Rabbi Silver.